Alright guys, good morning. I just wanted to take a moment and go over last week's quiz. Now I want you guys to take notes, correct your quiz on the corrections form, and then when you turn that in, I will give you half credit for any questions that you miss. I hope that this helped you a little bit with what we're working on in class, and we'll continue to have another quiz over this material here pretty soon. Our first quiz of the year is going to be over properties and expressions quiz. So number one, state the property associative, commutative, distributive, which one was used to create each equivalent expression to the one from one to the next. So let's just jump right in. So we have, this is what's given. If that is the given one, let's look at the next one. You go down here, I see that I have negative 6x with negative 10. Well, right there, I can tell that that is going to be the distributive property. Okay, I am distributing the negative 2 with the positive 3x, and then the negative 2 with the positive 5, creating a negative 10. Going down to the next step. Here, I also see in the next step, I go from 4 times the quantity of 2x minus 1 to 8x minus 4. That would be also the distributive property. Just because I have 4 groups of 2x minus 1. And then going down to the next one, I have negative 6x here and 8x here. I'm going to go ahead and squiggly and underline my terms. I really have two different terms. I have a coefficient of negative 6 and x, and a coefficient of 8 and x together. That will be the similar term. And then I have negative 10 and negative 4, both negative integers. Here, this just got shifted or switched around, flipped, moved. It didn't get grouped. It was starting at one place and it got shifted to another one. It got rearranged. So that would be the commutative property. Because the commutative property states that I can go back and forth, flip them around, switcheroo, switch back and forth, and the terms will still be the same. It's the same thing as saying 8 plus 4, 4 plus 8. Okay, that would be the commutative property. I'm taking one term where it's sitting in the expression and just moving it to another place. The values still stay the same. Moving down to the next step. Here I start grouping them. Okay, this is a moment when I group them and I break them so that I know. I'm trying to make it easier for myself to combine like terms. So grouping them, that would be the buddy rule. We call that the associative property. Okay, and then this one's one of the tough ones that some of you miss here, and this is the reason why I took this point off the quiz. I have, if you go back to this step right here, I have negative 6x plus 8x plus the quantity of negative 10 minus 4. Instead of just combining like terms right away, I went and I kind of factor out. We're going to talk about factoring later. All I did was I took that x out, I regrouped it. Okay, I regrouped it so that it makes it more manageable to add. So for example, if I have negative 6x right here plus 8x, traditionally squigglies and underline, all I'm doing is adding positive 8 with negative 6. And that will give me positive 2. So since I am adding similar terms here, combining like terms, I'm just going to combine my coefficient and then drop the x. Because I'm grouping it, breaking it apart and grouping it differently so that I can mentally add quicker, that will also be the associative property. So I have distributive, commutative property, associative, and associative property. All I'm doing in this step is just rearranging it so that I can add quicker. And same thing here, I'm factoring out the negative 1 and pulling that negative 1 out because I'd rather add 10 plus 4 be 14 times that negative 1 is negative 14. Some students still get kind of confused with the negative 10 minus 4, which is also negative 14. Okay? Alright, let's move on. Now, at any moment, feel free to pause the video and just take notes, fix your quiz before we move on. Number 2, distribute all parentheses, then simplify each expression fully. So these were 3 points. 1 for showing me the distributive property, 2 for showing me combining like terms, and then 3 obviously is giving me the correct solution to each situation. So first, we can do I have this long daisy chain of information here. I can do the commutative or the associative property, and I'm just going to group these. I'm going to do that first, and I'm just going to drop it right down here. Here I have two groups of x plus 4, so doing the distributive property, I'll end up having 2x plus 8. Some of you forgot this second tail in here. And then doing my other side, I have this group right here. So 6 groups of x plus 11 becomes positive 6x. Positive 6 times positive 11 is positive 66. Okay, here I have squigglies and underline. I can tell that I have a positive 6x, positive 2x. I'm going to add those together. See, what I'm just saying right now is very similar to this step up here, the associative property. I'm just pulling squigglies and underline is basically the associative property. I'm just grouping them together to get 8x. And then 8 plus 66, 74. And there is my final solution to that one. Okay, some of you missed that just because you missed that tail end. You might have forgotten that 66, or you might have dropped the 11, or you dropped the 4 instead of doing 8. Okay, let's go to B. So B, I have, again, I'm just going to break that off and do those first. The associative property there. I have x times x. Now, there's some confusion about this, and I've tried to go over in class. But if I have a square, and let's say that this is a 4 by 4, I know that this is the area of this square is 16 because area is side squared. S to the second power. In this case, it would be 4 to the second power. Now, a variable of x just represent one term or one number, an unknown. Since these are both the power of 1, that is that same identical number. So you could technically say, if you wanted to, pick a number like 2 and put it in here. 2 times 2, 2 to the second power, times 2 plus 7 is 14. It's the same thing as the previous one. Okay, but so instead of doing 2 times 2, picking a number, I'm creating an expression that has x to the second power, because x times x, if I did the same thing with the square, x, to find the area, that would be x squared. So x times x is x squared, and we'll continue to review exponential laws. X times positive 7 is positive 7x. Negative 2 here times x is negative 2x. Negative 2 times positive 1 is negative 2. Practicing my associative property here. Whoops, sorry about that. I was just looking at some of your quizzes and I saw that. This is x to the second power. There's nothing else in here that's x to the second power. There's no other terms in here that have second power. So that one becomes itself. And then here I have double line, double line. I have a positive 7x and I have a negative 2x. That becomes a positive 5x. This negative 2 is all by itself. I'm going to drop that down, and what I end up having is x squared plus 5x minus 2. Some of you gave me might have given me like 6x or 6x squared. Be careful. That is saying I have x squared is the same thing as saying x times x. 5x, on the other hand, is saying the same thing as 5x is the same thing as saying 5 groups of x, which is x plus x plus x plus x plus x. I can't combine those two because they're different properties. Okay. All right, let's move on to the last question. Here I have 3 points. Consider the points A, B, and C. Find the slope between A and B. Now, some of you kind of messed up on your properties, your integer rules here. And let's just jump right in. I'm going to use the slope formula, and then I'll do the table, using the table format to find the slope. To find the slope between A and B, so slope is always y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Slope is equal to, just going to go in there and go x1, y1, x2, y2. I have negative 1 minus negative 65 over negative 9 minus negative 33. Right away I have double negatives on the top and the bottom. So when we're subtracting, we see double negative, keep, flip, change, keep, flip, change. Okay, so then I have negative 1 plus positive 65 becomes 64. Negative 9 plus 33 is going to be 24. I have a positive 64 over 24 right now for my slope. It is not in simplest form. Right away, I can reduce it down. I'll just use 8 because I know that 8 goes into both. You can do a 2 and just keep going down until you can't go anymore. 8 times 8. So divide that by 8, I get 8. Divide that by 8, I get 3. So my slope is 8/3. There's my slope for point A and B, between A and B. Let's go down to BC. BC, here is, I'll go up here, I have x2, y2, I'll just do x3, y3, same thing. I'll do y3 minus y2 over x3 minus x2. It doesn't really matter about the 3 and the 2 because they're the same. I mean, you can do 2 over 1, you can do y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1, and it'll be the same. So, as long as you're finding the difference between your y values and then your x value, and then it's change in y over change in x. So, let's jump right in. I have 7 minus negative 1 over negative 6 minus negative 9. Again, I have double negatives. So keep, flip, change, keep, flip, change, and I have 8. Negative 6 plus 9 is 3. There's my slope between the 2 points. And some of you missed that because you just put in the negative 6 and you forgot about this negative here. Some of you simplified incorrectly. So double check your work. And then do points A, B, C lie on the same line because they have the same slope. They have the same rate of change. So yes, because the 3 points have the same rate of change. A quick way to check this also is I've had you find the slope between A and B, and then B and C. Well, you can definitely find the slope between A and C. Let's do that real quick. So the slope between A and C is going to be 7 minus negative 65 over negative 6 minus negative 33. Okay, you can pause the video here if you want and double check, and hopefully you'll get 8/3. 7 minus negative 65, keep, flip, change. Negative 6 minus negative 33, keep, flip, change. Okay. There we go. I have 72, 7 plus 65, 72, over negative 6 plus 33. Okay, so 33 minus 6 will be 27. And reduce that down, and I will still get 8/3. So those 3 points definitely lie on the same line. Okay, so please rewatch this video, go slow it down, pause when necessary to do the test corrections, and then turn us in for half credit for all the points that you missed. Thanks, guys.